Hey, Heather.
Yes, Amy.
Did you know that approximately 1 billion plastic toothbrushes end up in U.S. landfills every year?
That's a lot of plastic.
It sure is. Now, if you're like Heather and me, you're always looking for easy ways to reduce your carbon footprint. And when I say easy, I'm not kidding. Here's one of the easiest ways I know. Just switch to a biodegradable toothbrush. Earthmania bamboo toothbrushes are made from premium, biodegradable, and highly sustainable bamboo with densely packed, ultra-soft, BPA-free bristles. So they're safe for everyone, including kids and people with sensitive gums.
With Earthmania, you get a fantastic clean for your entire mouth, and you can feel good about helping out the environment. They come in a 4-pack biodegradable cardboard box, not plastic packaging like most toothbrushes. And just like an old school plastic toothbrush, you should switch out your Earthmania bamboo toothbrush every 3 months. So a 4-pack box will last you an entire year.
Also, did you know that bamboo is naturally antimicrobial? So a bamboo brush is less likely to harbor germs and mold like their plastic counterparts.
I'm sold! I can't think of a reason not to switch to Earthmania.
Same! And for our Casting Notice listeners, Earthmania has a deal, and who doesn't love a deal?
I love a deal.
Yeah, go to earthmania.com and enter the code Casting Notice at checkout for 20% off your entire order. That's www.earthmania.com, discount code, which is 2 words, Casting Notice.
Earthmania premium bamboo toothbrushes. Love the earth, love your smile.
Hey everybody, it's the Casting Notice podcast, and it's Heather.
And it's me, Amy. Hi.
This is our last episode this season.
It's the last one. Actually, it feels good to be doing the last one because it's been a little bit of an uphill climb and a huge learning curve for us.
A relearning, a learning. I did a podcast a long time ago, and I was like, I know how to edit. Woo, things have changed. That program's been updated multiple times.
This is not your mother's editing
software
or whatever.
Yeah. So if you're like, wow, the audio is bad and the edits seem jumpy, you're welcome. That was me.
Yeah, they were. Get over it. Well, and you know what? I have to... As co-host Love, I just have to give all the shout outs to Heather for doing all of the editing. And I will say on my behalf, though, that from the very get-go, I said, I will not do anything technical. You need to tell me what to buy, how to set it up, and then I'll start talking because that's about my level of technical knowledge. But Heather and along with Bobby, her husband, have really done all of the tech side of this entire thing. So huge thank you from me to you guys for doing all that because you didn't want me to do it. Trust me.
Well, I'm going to give a minor thank you to Bobby because he did get all the equipment and he did set it all up.
Just minor, though.
Well, but then he was like, just figure it out. And I was like, okay. You can't just put expensive equipment in front of me and be like, do it. Because I don't know.
Yeah, it's there. Just do it.
He's like, watch a YouTube video. Do you know what happens when I watch YouTube videos about like technology? My brain just starts to go, do, and I think about anything else. And then the video's over and I'm like, well, I learned nothing.
That was me in pretty much 90% of all of high school too. Is that what ADHD is? Because the thing is, like, I'm convinced that I probably have that. I mean, I don't think it's really necessary for me to be diagnosed at this point in my life because obviously I've learned to function fine as an adult. I don't feel like I'm falling short in like areas of, I don't need to go back to school or anything. So, but is ADHD like when you start doing one task and then you end up doing like 50 tasks all at once?
I don't, because I've never had a diagnosis, but I will tell you, I think there's a book you'd really like called ADHD for Smartass Women. Because even if I don't have ADHD, this book is so good for people who've got brains that are kind of like doing a million things at one time.
Uh-huh.
And
which I think is most women.
It is. But she also like describes how because women learn to cope with just naturally with things more than men do, we tend to not get diagnosed with ADHD. We learn coping skills, but it actually makes us very frustrated inside. And so it's like how this is a great book for women who are successful, basically, but who need a little tweaks.
I want to check that out. Well, and I would imagine, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I've never seen a doctor for it or been diagnosed in any way. Neither has Aubrey, but I would imagine that ADHD maybe even presents a little differently in women than it does in men.
Absolutely. Yeah, she talks about that. It absolutely does.
Okay.
And I will say, like, there's like a simple tip she gave that when I started doing it, transformed my life. I would get very overwhelmed with like having to organize or clean or do anything. And she's like, so stop thinking of it as a task. Tell yourself, I'm going to give myself like 12 minutes to do this. And whatever I do in
Oh,
12 minutes, whatever minutes you think you can do,
oh,
then just do it for that many minutes and then stop when you're done. And surprisingly, most of the things I need to do, I can get done in the time frame that I've given myself.
for me, what I have to do is really break things down into a list. Lists are really good
Hmm.
for me. And then I have to prioritize and go like, okay, what's the thing that has to be the most urgent thing? Put it at the top. I just have to be organized in my approach if I want to be really productive. Because I
Gotcha.
actually don't mind. I mean, I think this is like typical of the artist's mind often too, is that um, I get I can be hyper focused on something when I'm really into it. Like
Hmm.
I could sit and crochet all day, right? With like nothing else on, like not even the TV or a podcast, or I could just sit there and do it and just get up and take bathroom breaks and food breaks and just go back to it. I mean, if I had like if someone were just paying me to crochet, I could sit all day and make a billion blankets and hats or whatever. But when it comes to like, okay, I have to write this script or this essay, writing, I'm good at writing and I have like really great creative ideas and stuff. But like the focus part of sitting there and thinking about it and thinking about it, I have to give myself breaks
Mm.
or I'll get nowhere. And so that's why I always have a jigsaw puzzle on my table. Cause when I'm like, I'm feeling like starting to stare at the screen, I get up and I'm like, I'm gonna go do this jigsaw puzzle for 15 minutes and then like I can come back and focus again. But if I keep like I people who just can plow through a task like that, like I'm just gonna sit down and write this from point A to point B and then I'm done. I don't understand that at all. I have to do like two other
Yeah.
things on the side in order to stay focused on the primary task.
Oh yeah. No, I hear you. I feel you. I love lists. I love breaking things down and checking
Yeah,
things
I've got to
off.
compartmentalize like, okay, this is
Hmm.
one thing over here, and then this is another thing. And I
Yeah.
can do these two things at once. Doesn't my voice sound all cool and sultry because it's phlegmy? I'm like,
Mine
hey,
is
what's
just
going
mine is just
on?
disease sounding. I mean,
How are you feeling? Heather was sick. Are you feeling a little better?
I am. I'm just so now just congested. Everything is fine. Energy, everything else is fine. It's just congestion. So it could arguably just be pollen right now coming back to Vegas. I got sick came back from Milwaukee. And
You were sick of the Midwest.
let me tell you, that place is damp. It is damp. Why is it so damp?
Like compared to the South, though? I
Oh,
mean,
I mean, compared to Vegas, it's
you
just the
live, okay,
humidity
Heather lives
there.
in the desert. Yeah, Heather lives in the driest place. So, yeah,
0%
everything probably.
humidity. And I always say, like, I don't think I mind humidity. No, I mind it. I mind it a lot. I don't like the
I
way it
hate it.
feels.
I
I don't like,
despise it.
ugh. So wait, is it humid where you were growing up?
Yes, it was. Yes, because
Okay.
Minnesota, our logo or whatever is Land of 10,000 Lakes.
Oh, that's
And there's
right.
really more like 12 to 14,000 lakes, depending on if
Oh
you
my
call
God.
it a
I
pond
thought you
or
were
a
just going to say
lake,
12 to 13.
No, like thousand, because
Oh my
like some
God.
things like are really small, like are they lakes or are they ponds or whatever, but they're like more
Oh,
than 10,000 lakes. It's just like what sounded catchy for the license plate, I think. But yeah, because of all that water, there's a lot of humidity and there are a lot of mosquitoes.
ugh.
But there's also a lot
Do
of
you,
beautiful nature, but yeah, humid.
Do you know the difference between a lake and a pond? So the difference between a lake and a pond is at a lake there needs to be a point where no vegetation is growing because the sun cannot penetrate through the water. It's the depth. It has nothing to do with the width or the size. It's all about the depth. So you can have a very small looking lake, but if it's super deep where the sun cannot penetrate down to grow vegetation, then it's a lake. If the sun can penetrate the ground
Mm.
all over the whole thing and vegetation can grow all the way through, then that's a pond.
I don't know about the vegetation part though, because there's always vegetation growing in lakes.
Well, there has to be a point where it's deep and it cannot reach.
There is
Yeah.
a point where it's
Yeah.
so deep.
Not like
I
the full
see.
pool, like there. Yeah. There's like a point where it's going to be a depth where
Well,
the
I can
sun
tell
cannot
you right
reach.
now, then there are a lot of ponds being called lakes in Minnesota, including the one that I grew up in. There was one in my backyard that definitely was. It was for those of you in Minnie in southwest suburbs. It was in Excelsior. The lake was called Galpin Lake. We have a car dealership out here, Galpin
Yeah.
Ford or whatever. the same Galpin. But I grew up in this little tiny lake called Galpin Lake, and it was really small. But there definitely, it was very weedy. There was like vegetation all throughout it. So
everywhere.
maybe technically it was a pond. That's interesting to know.
So what's your factoid?
Wow. Oh, my factoid. This podcast is getting so dorky. It's just I can't remember. Oh, forest versus woods. I only learned this because Aubrey was on that game show yesterday, so maybe I shouldn't talk about it. But I mean, it's I guess a forest is just like more densely forested, like treed, and it has a thicker canopy, and it's like you think of like the rainforest, or where woods is just more like, hey, look at those trees. I think like the thicker canopy and just more densely populated with trees. It's just more trees. More. If there's a lot like extra, like the trees are like super extra, it's a forest.
Got it.
There might have been more details in there, but okay, your factoid was a lot more specific.
No,
you win. You win the factoid contest. I wish I had a better factoid now.
I won the nerdiness. So to circle back, right? To circle back to the humidity, I have to know, is it common for everything just to feel damp all the time?
Like indoors?
Like we went into the hotel room and like our bedding felt damp.
Did you?
Our pillows felt
a good
damp.
Air conditioner in there?
Maybe not. We were staying at a very old, like the most luxurious hotel in all of Milwaukee, the Pfister.
Pfister?
But it's the Pfister, Pfister.
Oh, like Pfister faucets?
I guess.
The Pfister.
The Pfister, yeah.
Oh my God, you just set yourself up for so many jokes. So I'm not going to go there though, because I'm just going to let our listeners imagine the hotel jokes for lodging.
The Pfister.
Pfister.
I know.
Like what happened?
Listen, this is a Wisconsin problem, not mine. But it's
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Did you go out in the boat?
No.
Did you go out in a boat?
I did that in Chicago. In Chicago, I went on a boat.
Oh, okay.
I did. I found a gluten-free truck at the Wisconsin State Fair.
Were they real squeaky ones?
They were, and they made gluten-free cheese curds. And once their website comes back online, they're paused right now for the summer state fairs in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And once they come back, I'm going to be buying the cheese curd mix so I can make my own gluten-free cheese. I love the cheese curds. Let me tell you, those were great.
So maybe there's a Scotty who could like clarify for me, but I believe the actual cheese curds are just the cheese itself, because you can buy big packages of just cheese curds, which are just bite-sized pieces of the cheese. So then the deep fried. So you're talking about deep fried cheese curds.
Yeah.
So
those were just regular pieces of cheese that were deep fried too.
Well, yeah. Like, so the like actual cheese curds is just cheese. Yeah. So, and then like you can batter and fry them. And I guess they just call those cheese curds too, like in restaurant menus, but I guess they're probably like called fried cheese curds or deep fried cheese curds or just cheese
Everything
curds.
is deep
the cheese
fried.
Curds are just the cheese. Like you can just buy cheese curds, which are just packages of.
You can buy them at Target now.
Here?
Yeah, cheese curds at Target.
I don't particularly love cheese curds. I like the fried ones because then you dip them in stuff and they're fried and crunchy and delicious. And who doesn't love anything fried? But the cheese curds themselves, because people like to just eat the cheese, it's really bland. I mean, I guess it's kind of like like a string cheese or something. It's not my favorite.
Yeah,
it's really bland.
I mean,
I like
I
a
put
cheese
the cheese
with
curds
a sharp bite.
When we buy them here, the kids always love when I don't know, like they love poutine. Like I'll make poutine at home, and you got to put the cheese curds on poutine.
Do you actually like fry the fries, or you make like oven fries?
Oh, oven fries. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
By the way,
poutine, like who doesn't love gravy and potatoes?
So every now and then they'll be like, "Can you make poutine, Mom?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll make poutine." But even if we do like a faux poutine where I have leftover chili and they want to put it over fries, they like the cheese curds because they get all nice and chewy and gooey, and when you put the heat on them.
Yeah, for sure.
It's delicious.
Well, wait. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little factoid that's sort of related to poutine. So I don't know if this is just an upstate New York thing.
Hmm.
I'm imagining that region. There's a dish that is similar to poutine, but it doesn't have the cheese. It's fries with gravy on it. Do you know what it's called?
Well, what?
I love the name. Wets.
Oh.
They serve them at the Fister.
They know. So
Wets.
awful.
They're called
Wets.
wets. I mean, that just came back into my mind because a good friend of mine from college was from upstate New York, and she's like, "You don't know what wets are?" I'm like, "No, girl."
Oh my
I do
God.
not.
Yeah. You gotta have the cheese. I feel the cheese makes it. Well, I don't know. I do
I'll
love
eat
gravy.
fries in any state.
We're circling back. This is big circular
We are.
because we started talking about. We're still obsessed with fries. Here we are.
Okay, so Aubrey and I tried alligator for the first time when we were in Florida
We're done.
last year for spring break. And my description is this: it tastes like a chicken and a shrimp had a baby.
Yeah,
And
someone
that's what
was
it
giving
tastes
us
like
that.
because it's a chickeny flavor, but it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the rubbery-ish bite.
Got it.
It's
I
like
like the fish.
50%
Yeah.
shrimpy rubber, you know, that rubbery bite you get with the shrimp, but combined with the chickeny bite, like 50-50. But the flavor is predominantly chicken. But it's
So
got
one
that
time,
rubbery texture.
texture. I mean, alligators are not endangered species at all.
No. Well, and I
Bobby was
asked at the
working on.
restaurant. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
What?
I asked at the restaurant where we're eating at. This is up near
Yeah.
Clearwater because we went to
Mm-hmm.
swim with manatees in Clearwater. So someone had, I said, where's a local restaurant that would have something interesting? Like, oh, you want to try alligator? Go to this place. And it was like it's kind I wouldn't say it was a divey. It was like a family bar kind
Mm-hmm.
of establishment. And let's just say it was, we were the brownest people in the town and in that restaurant. Anyway, I got a little scared for a second. I'm like, oh, okay. But anyway, our server was very nice. But I asked her, I said, I'm curious, is the alligator meat here, do you get it from a farm? Or because this was like a kind of a mom and pop restaurant. I
Yeah.
said, or do you raise the alligators, the owners, or like where? I don't know. It's like, is this an industry in Florida, like alligator meat? Because so many restaurants serve it there. And she said, generally they come from nuisance alligators. I'm like, oh, so they're alligators that kind of like bust loose and like show up in people's yards and ate my chicken and that kind of stuff. And so
Mm-hmm.
they get shot and served at a local restaurant.
I mean, circle of life.
We ate a nuisance alligator. I
Alligator.
guess.
Oh my gosh. I remember Bobby worked on a museum project that were showing the native wildlife, and they had baby alligators. There's always baby alligators in the display. And I was like, oh, but when they get too big, like where do they go? Do you send them to like a little place for them to live, release them in the wild? And they're like, no, they go to like a leather factory.
Oh, a belt
I was like,
making.
oh, they're like, yeah, they're gonna be processed for other stuff. I was like, that's so sad.
Hats and shoes and belts.
But they're not smart. This museum should sell them in their gift shop. Like
yeah,
this alligator belt used to be here.
right. Oh my
You're missing out. You're
gosh.
missing
Oh my
out.
god. Okay. Okay. This whole episode is going to be about alligators. So, I just saw probably on Instagram, or so that's what I feel like is my biggest app binge. I'm not really a TikTok person. You're more of a TikTok person, I feel like, than I am, but I'm more of an Instagram Reels. But I think I saw this on Instagram Reels, and I'm sure it's on TikTok too. I'm not a huge Bond fan, but it was one from like one of the earlier Bond movies, James Bond movies. I don't remember which Bond it was. It wasn't Sean. I don't think it was Sean Connery. Anyway, but that back in that era, the old era,
Yeah, like a Roger Moore, maybe.
maybe. But in this particular scene, he's running, probably like chasing a bad guy or running from a bad guy or whatever, and he traverses this little thing of water, and he like boom, 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 like steps on the heads of crocodiles like they're little stepping stones, but like runs across them like Mario Brothers, like boing, boing, boing.
Yeah.
No joke. It was a stuntman, and they used real alligators or crocodiles.
Oh my
I don't remember
God.
which it was. and they showed the takes. I've got to find this video, and we will like put the link in our description or something, and I'll send it to you. It was crazy because he had to do it multiple times.
Oh my God.
And there's a point where he fell in the water and almost got chomped. Like
Yeah,
they
they must
used
be
real
pissed.
alligators.
Why would
They
you
couldn't
just
make
get an
fake
alligator
alligator
mold?
heads?
Yeah.
I mean, it was my jaw was literally in my lap while I was watching this video. I'm like, shut up. Shut the front door. Like that kind of
That's
stuff
mental.
would never happen now.
Yeah.
One, because of the animal cruelty. Two,
Yeah.
risking somebody's life like that for like a
This
3-second
this had to be
stunt.
a late 60s, early 70s Hollywood because they didn't care back then.
Oh yeah. It was definitely in the old James Bond days,
Yeah.
but it was crazy. Like I could
That's
not
insane.
believe
It's insane that was
I have to find
cheaper
it.
to like hire to I mean, how many crocodiles were there? There must have been at least 3, right?
It was like 3 or 4.
But like the fact that it was
Yeah.
cheaper to hire that many crocodiles for a day to step on than to just make. I'm sure you could have.
And
found,
did they have
like,
a crocodile
heads.
wrangler, or did they just? They had to have
Just
because
to
they
this guy
had to line
imagine?
them up perfectly and stuff.
Oh my God.
Well, and how did they like the guy? Like, how did they get them all lined up? And okay, anyway, I have so many
That's-
questions,
yeah.
but we will find that, and if we can, we
That's
will put the link to
crazy.
that in our description as a little special treat for our last episode because it is an amazing video.
I guess we should be glad we're not actors in the 70s because then all we'd be on is MASH, you know?
Oh my God, did you? Okay, when you were a kid.
I loved MASH.
I mean,
yes.
maybe, okay, I grew up in a very mashy family because my family,
Yeah.
I think your dad was military too, but my dad was
Yes.
military. We were a very pro-military family. And so my parents loved MASH. My brothers loved MASH. We all would watch it as a family. And maybe this was just me because I was growing up as the only Asian person in my whole household. I would feel so freaked out and self-conscious, like whenever there would be like a local villager
Oh,
or like then there was the one Asian nurse who was
Yeah.
had a Japanese name. I don't remember her name. But anytime like one of like the Korean people would be on screen, like they'd have an extra person or whatever, and I would feel so like, oh my God, who is this person? And like I would feel like really embarrassed. Like anytime.
Oh.
It was like I felt like yeah, because I was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's me.
Oh,
I'm
no.
the person who's like, oh, me no speaking English. Like that's what I thought, like, okay, I
got
guess
you,
that's
yeah.
what Asian people are. You know what I mean? Because that's
Yeah.
other than that one nurse, that was the portrayal of Asian people on that
Asian
show.
people, yeah.
Which I guess that's what it was. Like they were like Americans in Korea, but oh, I hated watching it. I hated. Oh my God, I would like
Well,
feel like I just wanted to leave the room anytime a Korean person came on screen.
Came on the screen. Who's probably actually a Filipino. Well,
No,
so
all
my
Asian
dad
people are
hated
Chinese, Heather. I don't know what you're talking about. We're all Chinese.
my
That China
dad
lady. Here comes the China
liked
lady.
the movie. I know, right? My dad liked the movie, but he hated the TV show because, you know, he was stationed in Korea and he's like, this ain't Korea. This does not look like Korea. This does not feel like Korea. Like this is very obviously California. So
Southern
he never
California.
watched the TV show. Yeah. He never watched the TV show for that reason. But I love Star Trek. And when I was growing up, MASH was on right after Star Trek. So I would watch Star Trek. It was the original series too. I would watch Star Trek and then it'd be an hour of MASH and then the news. And I didn't want to watch the news. So that was like my evening, would be, I had a TV in my bedroom. I would go in, I would watch
Ooh.
Star Trek at 9, at 10 o'clock, an hour of MASH, and then I'd be out by the news.
Oh my gosh.
But
you know what? When I
remember
was
also-
old enough. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, MASH also lasted longer than the actual Korean War. So
I know.
that's also a weird part about it. Like,
On and
how long
on.
is this going on?
I was old enough to, I saved money. I must have been 15, 16 because I had my first job when I was 15. And I saved enough money to buy my own TV, like a little console thing that had a TV
Oh, yeah.
and a record player and a dual tape cassette
Ooh,
situation
fancy.
and probably had like an AM FM stereo in it too. And
Yeah.
I remember I bought it at Kmart with my own money. My brother drove me to pick it up, and my mom had a Pontiac Sunbird convertible.
Oh my gosh.
Sunbird. And we put the box in the back seat. We had to put the convertible top down to fit it in, and we put the box in the back seat and set it up in my room. So, and I was like, I have my own TV. Because, kids don't really understand. Like, this was before devices. So
Sure, yeah.
most families, you had one TV and it was in the living room and you all had to fight over it. And sometimes there was like a small TV that was like in the kitchen or a side room, and you'd watch it when you were eating dinner or something weird. We had a 13-inch black and white TV in our eating room. We called it the eating room, which sounds so like institutional, because it wasn't the dining room. We had a separate formal dining room, and it was just this room off of the kitchen where we ate, like an informal dining. Anyway, so those were the two TVs that we always had to fight over. So all of a sudden I had my own TV, and I thought it was so fancy because the TV had a timer on it, so you could set a sleep timer to turn it off. Yeah. And every night I would watch The Tonight Show, and I'd set the timer, and I'd fall asleep to The Tonight Show, to Johnny Carson.
Oh.
Yeah, and I have like such, how like certain things just take you right back to like certain feelings and times in your childhood. And yeah, so like that, like The Tonight Show or like The Tonight Show theme, like it just makes me think of like laying in my bed in my room in my teens and like drifting off to sleep and dreading having to get up and go to high school the next morning.
You're like, that's why you knew it was probably, I wonder if that was inspiring to you. Like, I'm going to escape this and go live the life of a comedian. Like, just
I don't know about the comedy, because I don't think I realized that comedy was a thing that you could actually do until quite a bit later. But I definitely was really not inspired by Johnny so much. I know people love Johnny Carson, but I loved Joan Rivers so much. Yeah. And she was definitely one of my early inspirations. It was just so cool to see a woman doing that role that, men had always done. So yeah, she was a huge influence when I was young.
That's so, I think about that because I wonder, was there an inspiration point for you of like, you're living in this small kind of place? Because even the big cities in Minnesota in Milwaukee's a big city of Wisconsin, feels very small to me. Like, this is a very smallish place.
Well, and we never went into Minneapolis. We were like, 25, 30 minutes outside of southwest of Minneapolis where I grew up. But my family, my particular family, not other families, but we never ventured into the city. Very rarely did we venture closer to the city and do big city things like go to shows or, fancy places, like every once in a while for something special. But it usually was when I was really young, and so I don't remember it because by the time I got older, I think my parents were like, whatever, we're not doing anything special for you anymore. So, definitely it was like a small town vibe.
And were there like big city dreams? Because, while I grew up in the Valley, I was in LA all the time, like in the heart of LA. I went to Hollywood often. I was a Hollywood high school.
And your dad was in the industry.
Yeah. So like for me, there was no glamour and like, I want to be, Hollywood and LA. I'm like, oh my God. There was like no drive for it. Like, was there like this, but like, was there like this dream for you for like leaving and like going to the big city? Like, I'm going to go to the big city one day.
I think maybe when I got older, like toward the end of high school, maybe I don't know. It's kind of funny because like, I think from the time I was very, very young, I wanted to be a performer, but I didn't really think of it in terms of like Hollywood or whatever. I didn't really know what those things were. I didn't know like where you would go to be a star or whatever.
Sure.
I think like every little girl on the planet who grew up in the 70s, I wanted to be Annie.
Let's take a pause on that and let's listen to one of our deep cuts that didn't make it to our episode.
Did I already talk about this?
Sure, but like let's listen to it again.
Okay. Oh, I wanted to be an Annie, and I thought I could be Annie back when I was a small Asian child.
You could have. I believe in it. The thing with the stage is we suspend disbelief, and as long as you got the red wig on, you're fine.
Right, and that's what I love about theater.
You are. I feel like to heal your inner child, Amy, we need to put on Annie, and you can play Annie finally.
The sun will come out on this podcast. Bet your bottom dollar that this podcast will heal my inner child. Oh
Well,
my
since we played
gosh.
one little clip from before, let's play another little clip from before.
Let's clip it up.
There's a lot of stuff that does not age well. Yeah.
All those American Pie films.
All of the, pretty much anything. Well, once again, I'm older than you, but anything that I watched in the 80s, oh my God, don't watch it now. You're going to be so disappointed. And you're going to be like, wow, this is so rapey, and this is so racist, and this is so misogynistic. Pretty much, sorry, any John Hughes movie. Oh my God, so horrible to watch now.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that because Aubrey went to summer camp for the first time 2 summers ago, and I'm like, oh, we should watch Caddyshack.
Oh, no.
So rapey.
Yeah.
There's a whole scene where Bill Murray is trying to like grab the girl that he's attracted to, literally like physically trying to grab her, and she's darting around the room trying to get away. Do you remember this scene? Get away from him. And then he does catch her, and he throws her down on the couch and straddles her as if it's like fun. And she literally like the whole time is going, no, stop. And then she eventually escapes from him and leaves the room, slamming the door behind. And what happens? They end up together.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the trend of how the media wants women to behave. Like, we want you to tease us.
That's been rom-coms forever, is basically stalk her until she falls in love with you. And that's why middle-aged men, get it together.
Yeah, they were watching those movies.
It wasn't real.
Yeah.
Still true to this day.
Still true. Oh my God.
So in case you're wondering, like, what are these weird audio clips we're hearing in this podcast? Not everything made it to air. Sometimes we talk a lot. But I wanted to hit on some of our things that made me laugh when we were editing, but I was like, oh, but I got to take them out. I gotta talk about it later.
The gems that ended up on the cutting room floor.
That's right. Here's one from when, I think it was when you went for, I honestly don't even remember the episodes.
Isn't it kind of like trendy now, though, to be mixed?
Somewhat,
with
but
white.
I mean,
let's just be clear, not anything else.
I think it's your age group that you're in. I think it's
older
trendy.
people for sure. They're like, no, thanks.
No. Yeah, they're like.
But right now, like with I'd say like the 30s and under, it's kind of a thing.
I would say it's more in the mid to late 20s max, because I think the K-pop groups.
Well, yeah.
So like they have K-pop groups that don't even have Koreans in them. Like they're just. Have you heard about that group? I don't remember their name, so this is very helpful for all of you. But it's like it's not even African American. I think she's just African. And then like there's a Japanese girl and then somebody else, and they're a K-pop group and they're very popular. They sing in Korean, they speak Korean, but they're not ethnically Korean. And the K-pop people are wonderful in a way. They're like, yeah, it's fine. It's still K-pop to us.
I would just like to amend. It's also very trendy to be half black and half Asian. Okay,
that's
not
true.
just white. I'd said white before, but yeah,
Blasian. We can blame Tiger Wood for that.
So my 52nd birthday, yes, saying my age. So my 52nd birthday is September 1st or around thereabouts. It's an estimated birthday. Yes, adopted from the streets of Korea. Found at a train station. We'll just give her this name and this birthday. So, but that is the day my birthday is celebrated, is September 1st. And my child is deserting me for my birthday. Thanks a lot.
What?
She's going to hang out with some friends for the Labor Day weekend. So, for years, I used to have a big Labor Day / birthday party here at my house. And it was like a huge open house where literally between like 80 to 100 something people would just come and go all day through the day, and kids would swim in the pool. And like one year I had the Kogi truck come. Like we've had
crazy.
Usually it's like a huge potluck though too, and people just come and bring stuff, and it's super fun. And then what put the kibosh on that, of course, was COVID. And then ever since then I just haven't done it again. Because then, like, the year after that, I was like, oh, is it safe to gather? And, like, only have 20 people or less. So I just never did it again. And now I've kind of lost my will to have that big of a party again. at least like not now. It's too busy and my yard's all under construction anyway. But I'm trying to figure out what to do for my birthday. So you're not going to Hawaii at the beginning of September, are you?
No, kind of middle part. Sorry.
Middle.
I wish I
Okay.
could swing that.
What
You
should
should go
I
to
do for
Chicago.
Labor Day weekend all alone? Just
I mean,
probably just
here's
sit
the
at home
funny
and
thing.
watch TV and crochet and do a puzzle. That's like my dream.
I mean, live that dream. For my birthday one year, well, I'm 44, so for my 43rd, I said I want everybody to leave the house and leave me alone for 24 hours.
Right.
I literally ordered everything of my favorite Thai food, and I sat home and just watched whatever I wanted in my underwear, and I was left alone. I turned off my phone. I said, unless somebody's dying, don't call me. I'm not responding to anything.
That is so
It
many
was
moms' dream,
amazing.
is to just be left alone.
Right?
That's
I
why we
just
love
wanted-
like going to the bathroom and like closing the door. Like, I'm in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I don't.
But
Dad
they
do
still
that
harass
too.
you. They're like, okay, well, I'll ask you through the door. And you're like,
No,
there's
no,
another
there's no
parent in
being
this
alone.
house.
My
No,
dogs
no.
too. When my little dogs were alive, they had to come into the bathroom with me too. I'm like, can
Oh
I
my
ever
gosh.
be alone? Ever? And if I would close
Nope.
the door, one of them would whine, and then or like scratch at the door, and then they would pout. They would sit right outside the bathroom door, and I could see their tails under the door.
Oh
I'm like, oh
no.
my God, just I know I'm
Just-
likable, but come on, like
I don't be needed all the time.
yeah.
Speaking of
can
things
you-
pawing you, to play another clip, I do have a little PSA that I would like to put out there for men, though, about putting condoms on, because I know they claim it's uncomfortable, but I don't think they realize how uncomfortable 9 months of pregnancy is. And I'm saying that as a woman who's never been pregnant.
Yeah,
I
as
did the
Jackie
math.
Cation said, she would say to a guy who didn't want to use a condom, she's like, and then like he would say, well, it's because it doesn't feel good. And she's like, does it feel worse than no sex at all? Because
Yeah.
those are your choices.
Yeah. So my rule is, you know, a man, if you take the amount of pregnancy that it takes for a woman, you know, 40 weeks, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 60 minutes in those hours, a man needs to have protected sex 57,600 times before he should be allowed to go without. I think it's still good advice. I think it's still very good advice.
We love condoms. Let's talk a little bit about what our dreams and visions for next season, because there are so many things. Like when Heather and I just start talking, like obviously we'll just go off on a million tangents. It would be fun
Sure.
to do like a whole episode on like weird stuff from our childhoods, like from the 70s and 80s, because
Oh, yeah.
yeah, there's so much there, like so much. Like I could talk about like the weird shows and stuff, because there are things that I remember watching, especially in the late 70s, where I've brought them up to people and people are like, I do not remember that at all, but I'm like, I swear this was real. And then you start to think like, was that a nightmare I had? But there are some shows that like I definitely remember because they scared me and stuff. And I remember
Sure.
and I have looked them up and been like, aha, it did exist. But yeah, that's an episode I would love to do for next season. Do you have a dream topic for next season?
A dream topic. I don't know. I feel like you call. Yeah. Let's see. I think things that we would want to be cast in that will never be cast in. Like
Okay.
for me, the dream role, and this is also an age thing, but like I have this vision. I would love to have been able to play Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet, but as a female. Because if you read that character as like a female, like part of the impoverished, you know, upper class this is supposed to be, she's never going to get married. She's a little bit older than everybody else. And you read the Queen Mab speech, it's can be read as like a woman who realizes she's never going to have anything in life. Like that's it. It's her family status is terrible. She's just basically being passed around by men. And it's like I think it's a really interesting turn. If you make it a female, but now I'm way too old to play it. But I always was like, Mercutio should be a female. If you read it from a female perspective, it changes that character's sort of dynamics. And Benvolio is the current guy she's banging, who tolerates her, you know? But like, if you look at it as that, it's a very modern, like, yeah, I'm like, no woman would act like that. Yeah, I get it. But it actually puts an interesting spin on it if it's a female.
That's very cool. We saw the Matthew Bourne Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, I didn't get to see it, but it looked
pretty
amazing.
Stunning. Yeah. I mean,
he's so talented.
Yeah, super, super talented. It was, and I mean, kind of like similarly, if you go to Cirque du Soleil or any show like that, like, or we just saw Illinois on Broadway, which it's a dance show as well. Like, I cannot even when I was in my best shape, which was in my early 30s because I had Aubrey at 34. I cannot imagine that kind of cardio movement, physical movement for like a 2-hour show.
Yeah, seriously.
Insane. Like they are just dancing non-stop and then doing it 8 times a week. I don't understand like how the stamina to do that. I mean, I guess like you spend your whole life dancing and training for that kind of stuff. I guess you just kind of get used to it. But I cannot even fathom. It just blows my mind that they can do that. And like, I would be hurt all the time. And I'm sure they get hurt a lot. But anyway, pretty amazing. That was amazing. Illinois was amazing. And so was that Romeo and Juliet. So amazing.
It's so impressive to me. I mean, I think there's just like acceptance people have to have in their life sometimes about, I will never get to do X. Like, I'll never be an Olympian. Well, that's not true. I may be able to become a curling Olympian.
Yeah. Well, and that woman who just debuted at 58 at table tennis.
Table tennis. Yeah, but table tennis I can't do table tennis now. I'll never do it at 58. I feel like curling I could do.
Because it wasn't, I think she had a career and then she retired from it and then she made it.
Yeah, she did. Return. And well, because the paddles were too hard for her to master. Like they switched the paddle. I feel like that's what I read. I don't know. I'm making stuff up.
Stop it.
So guys, we hope you enjoyed season 1.
We did our best.
I hope you want a season 2. Yeah, tell us and really tell us what you would like to hear us talk about. Tell us what you are interested in. Are there any more topics you want us to delve into from our experienced lives?
Yeah, we have also so much to talk about. We can talk and talk and talk, clearly.
I know. And we'll always come back to fries. Fries are the home base.
Fries are definitely the foundation of this podcast. And also, if you wouldn't mind too, folks, if whatever platform you're listening on, if you would give us a little review, it really helps us grow our following. And I know like on Apple Podcasts, you can click on the stars. It just takes 1 second. But if you even have a chance to write a little review, even if you're like, wow, this podcast blows, like just write something. But don't write that.
Don't write this podcast blows.
But give us your honest feedback. And if you can write a little review on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate it. It helps us a lot.
Yeah, and we hope to have... We're not going to go dead until season 2. And don't ask us when season 2 is, because we don't know. But we're not going to go dead at that time. Follow us along on our social media, because we'll be posting here and there, little snippets, little cuts, deep cuts.
We'll give you some little treats. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for season 1. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Amy.
I appreciate you, Heather, and I really again appreciate all the hard work you put into making this podcast happen, and we're proud of ourselves for making it happen.
We are.
It took a while, but we got it. We made it happen.
We got it. Yes.
Yay!
All right, yay!
All right.
Until next season.
Bye.
Next season.
Adieu. Bye.
Bye.